I'm 38 years old. I've been living alone for a long time. I never got married because I always wanted to live life on my own terms. My career, social life, and friends kept me busy, and I managed to live a fulfilling life. But sometimes loneliness has a strange way of sneaking up on you. No matter how strong you think you are, there are moments when that emptiness finds a way to take over. My relationship with my nephew has always been close. He didn't just see me as his aunt. He saw me as a friend. The age gap between us wasn't that big, so it felt natural. There was a bond of trust between us. He shared every little detail of his life with me, even things he kept from his mother. I enjoyed being his confidant. It made me feel special. But now, looking back, I can't help but think about that one moment when we crossed a line. And it hurts. That day started off like any other. It was a family gathering at my mom's house. A typical get-together with good food and casual conversations. But something felt different that day. Maybe it was the calm atmosphere or some tension we weren't aware of. I can't quite explain it. As the evening wound down, everyone started leaving. My nephew, however, wanted to stay over at my place. "Auntie, I want to spend more time with you," he said. I was clearing the table when he spoke, and his words made me pause. "Of course," I replied with a smile. Spending time with him always brought me joy. His innocent, genuine demeanor had a way of warming my heart. As the night went on, we ended up sitting and talking for hours. At first it was about mundane topics, work, school, life. But then the conversation started to shift. He opened up about something deeply personal, something he hadn't shared with anyone else. It was a story of hurt and vulnerability. Seeing him like that, so open and raw, triggered something in me. I felt an overwhelming need to comfort him, to be there for him. "I'm always here for you," I told him, and I meant it. As the conversation deepened, I noticed how he looked at me differently. There was a certain closeness between us that I hadn't felt before. Then he said, "Auntie, I don't know what I'd do without you. You always help me feel grounded when I'm lost." His words hit me in a way I wasn't expecting. They were heartfelt and sincere, but they also made me feel something else, something I couldn't quite place. At some point, he moved closer to me, his eyes glistening with emotion. "I'm so lucky to have you," he said. I didn't know how to respond. I smiled and held his hand. "You're very special to me, too," I said. The words came out naturally. But then there was a silence between us. An awkward, charged silence that stretched on and on. It felt like time had stopped and we were both caught in the moment. Sitting there, I found my gaze locked on his. Looking back now, I know I should have stopped. But in that instant there was this unexplainable pull. A fleeting sense of connection, of closeness. Before I knew it, something happened. It was just for a second, and then I pulled away, realizing what had occurred. He looked at me, equally startled and embarrassed. Neither of us knew what to say. That night, as I lay in bed, the events of the evening replayed over and over in my head. I kept asking myself, what just happened? How did we let it get to this point? I was filled with self-doubt and guilt. I couldn't believe what I'd done. The next morning I knew we had to talk. Over breakfast I broke the silence. "Listen," I said. "What happened last night was a mistake. It can never happen again." He nodded, his face flushed. He didn't say much, but I could see the shame and regret in his eyes. That look, his expression in that moment will haunt me forever. After that day, I decided to put some distance between us. Cutting him off completely wasn't an option. After all, he's my nephew. But I knew we needed boundaries, clear, unbreakable boundaries. What happened that night left a scar on me, and I'm sure it did on him too. Whenever I think about it, I feel the same guilt and regret washing over me. Now, as I share this story, I carry a heavy heart. This is a mistake I struggle to accept. But I'm telling it for a reason. Life has a way of testing us in unexpected moments. And passing those tests isn't always easy. But it's in those moments of choice that we define who we are. If this story can be a lesson to someone or help them see things differently, then maybe the burden I carry will feel a little lighter. This is a confession, a regret, and perhaps a warning. A reminder that we all need to know our limits. Because sometimes a single moment of weakness can follow you for the rest of your life.